born in Fontana because my mom's a teacher, and that's where the big Kaiser Hospital was. Oh. So I actually grew up my entire life in Laverne, 18 straight years, and I used to come down to Newport Beach to go surfing. And then I learned there was a UC school really close by, so I decided that that would be the place for me. Not too far from mom and dad. I could still go home and do laundry, take food out of the refrigerator.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And it was a really good school, really good education. Yes, I did get a degree in sociology. I felt like it was the best intersection of where history and current events intersect. I actually have what's called a TEFL degree, which is teaching English as a foreign language. And for a couple of years after college, I moved to Spain, specifically Madrid, and taught English to businessmen and lawyers. And that was pretty cool. That was a pretty nice life. But you can't pay those people to work, by the way. You really can't. If they have a Thursday holiday, they take Friday off, and the whole country does it. It was a different lifestyle. So I moved back when my brother got married. I was best man in his wedding, and while I was home, I got offered a job to get into medical device sales, which I jumped at because I'd heard good things. Don't believe the good things they tell you about medical device sales. Doctors are crazy, and they aren't nice to people they feel are beneath them, which is everybody.
Nice.
So I put my time and effort in. I did about 2.5 years, and I had to train my own replacement for about 3 months. And then one day, my bosses said, all right, you've done everything we asked of you, you can go. And I cartwheeled out the door, never to return again. I mean, for that, I learned a lot about sales. That's absolutely the hard sale industry. It's all relationship building. It takes time to get one guy to trust you to give you one case. So I learned about that, and I always had a head for numbers. I really liked the statistics class you have to take in UCI. So I felt like credit card processing was a good way to go, where I get to look at numbers. It's a little bit of accounting. You do have to get out there to get people to trust you before they'll even give you a chance to look at what they feel is very private information, and I absolutely understand. But then I find that we have a reputation for kind of being criminals in this industry. And I've been looking around, and sometimes I agree with what you think about us. I look at some of the other deals, and I just think, who the hell would sign this? But we thrive off of your ignorance, and so I'm going to try to spend the next 5 minutes educating you as much as I can about what we actually do for a living. First things first, we do provide you with the machinery to accept credit cards. Or if you're a restaurant or just have a certain type of setup on your computer, that's called a POS system. We just go in through the internet and hook up into that. If it was up to Visa, MasterCard, and American Express, anytime somebody swiped a card and you get $100, you wouldn't see that money for 3 months. Because it's credit, they want to make sure that no one's going to dispute the charge, no one's going to charge it back, nothing shady happened, the credit card wasn't stolen. So they take their time in order to protect themselves. But business owners can't do business that way. You couldn't wait 3 months for your money to come in. So another bank comes along and says, oh no, Visa and MasterCard, they're good for it. We'll get you your money in 2 days, but we're going to take a little bit off the top, just like Visa and MasterCard does. So each and every card actually has a different price associated with them. And now I'd like to talk to you guys about rewards cards, because this is the big change that's really been going on lately. Rewards cards are those cards that, you know, Samuel L. Jackson says you get miles, you get points, you get money back, and it's true. The average month, you get about $25 in rewards cards if you're an average user. But what they've found is that it increases your spending by about $79 a month, because in your mind you say, oh, I'm getting points. So there's an argument not to accept American Express because they're expensive, but rewards cards are just as expensive, and you must accept them by telling Visa, MasterCard you're taking their cards. You have to take all of their cards. So there's other types of cards that are going to cost you more. Very few people have the regular credit card anymore. That do nothing for you, not debit card, just a regular credit card. You don't see those very often. Oh, another thing about rewards cards is average debt went up by $190 in the first 3 months. This is all sourced from a poorly named but really good book called How to Be Richer, Smarter, and Better Looking Than Your Parents. It's a terrible title, but it's a really well-written book. The guy has lots of information. He talks a lot about credit cards. So you as a consumer and you as a businessman, think about this in both directions. The average household with credit card debt is $15,000 in debt. So as a business owner, that means people are spending money they don't have, and the ability to accept credit cards is imperative. But as a consumer, let's try not to be that particular household. In 1992, Americans thought they had $70 billion in credit card debt. Turns out it was $182 billion. And this is what Visa and MasterCard is constantly telling people, is that people spend more money. They buy more expensive items, and they spend before they're ready if you accept credit cards. So it's always a good thing, especially if you're a shop owner, because Purdue has found, so they took two groups of people, and they surrounded one group with Visa, MasterCard signs, and they told them, oh, don't worry about that, that's for a different experiment. And then they asked them, how much would you pay for that cup? How much would you pay for that glass? How much would you pay for that plate? The people surrounded by the Visa and MasterCard signs, even though they were told to ignore them, spent about twice as much and made their decision much, much quicker. That's just the power of subliminal messaging. There's one more cool study. Let me find this one. Okay, they did a silent auction for Portland Blazer tickets, and they said, this half of the room you can only pay in cash, and they said, this half of the room you can use credit cards. The side that could use credit cards spent more than twice as much. They bid up prices more than twice as high as the side that was only using cash. So as a business owner, it is imperative to accept credit cards. Rewards cards have changed the game, but if you haven't talked to your merchant service provider, talk to them, because they'll tell you, yeah, 1.65. No, they're not 1.65. That's a regular credit card that nobody has in their pocket anymore. Debit cards are cheaper than that. Rewards cards are more expensive. I hope I brought a little education. Anybody have any questions? Because I know I went through a lot pretty quickly. Please.
What's the average time right now that you're getting your money after you run
Oh,
cards?
2 days guaranteed, but Sunday doesn't count. So that's what we do, and then if it's really important to you, we can put you on what's called next day funding, where as long as the terminals have a batch out button, as long as you do that by 6 p.m., you'll get your money the next day. But some business owners who keep their books well, they're like, 2 days is fine.
Yeah. Do you have an industry average?
Industry average? We use US Bank, and they are 2 days. I assume they're just like all the other banks, like Wells Fargo and such. Please.
Do you have a program for e-commerce, like that does credit card processing for e-commerce sites?
Yeah, we do. We set up a gateway with Virtual Merchant, but we also have a programmer over at a co-owned office of ours, and he does shopping carts, he does website design, he does all that stuff to like really, I mean, it wouldn't be important for you, but we absolutely do have the gateway to pay, the shopping cart to pay, but we also have a guy who can set that up for the Luddites amongst us.
Great, thanks.
No problem. Anything else? Yes.
Yeah, I do a lot of freight stuff off-site, so I don't have my terminal with me, obviously. There's two choices. One, I can take your credit card information and type it in, use your card on site, or I could use what we've been doing here with the Square. What is the difference in cost of the two different technologies?
Really good question. I'm glad you asked. They have found that incidence of fraud goes down anytime you have the piece of plastic in your hand. That's why taking a card and swiping it, always cheaper. Always, always cheaper. And Square, it's not as cheap because they're not backed by a bank. They've found out that rewards cards are so prevalent that they're actually charging 3.75 for those now. But just by having the card in your hand, you need to take it that way. Whenever possible, it's better for you as a business owner.
Are there alternatives to the Square?
Yes, there are, and we offer them. I'm not trying to sell you our services. I'm just trying to educate you. But yes, everybody does have a mobile reader. I think I showboated. I showed you guys one. It goes on your phone. You just swipe it that way. I'm getting gonged, but we sure do. So thank you so much for your time. I'm always happy to answer any questions.
So our next speaker, he moved